Lord, through Aglow as a ministry, has changed my life and really my family's life. And the Lord has been present through it all. And I'm eternally grateful. And, the interesting thing is that, my time at university where I received my degree in pastoral ministries and ended up going on for a master's in theology. And it really, I had no Aglow in mind when I was doing that because I didn't know it existed. But it was really where my heart was. But I had a conversation with the dean of students right after I graduated with my master's. And I was set that I was going to go on and get a PhD and teach Bible classes at the university or a university. And the dean of students, who now I'm so thankful for this conversation. I wasn't too happy at the time, but he sat me down and he explained that he really felt like I needed to marinate on the things that the Lord had poured into me over those years in school, that I had done my bachelor's right into my master's, and the Lord was going to use that. I just needed to be patient, which I'm not very good at, and trust that the Lord was going to lead me where I was supposed to be. And he did. I mean, I ended up at Aglow, and while I was in conference, not ministry, I worked for a ministry, and it's a blessing to be able to see the Lord's hand in all that I've done and how he takes care of the things that we entrust to him. And I'm not even speaking about that just for me. I'm just using me as an example. But when we really turn to the Lord in a sincere, full way and just, offer up whatever it is that we are kind of in those, I don't know, I think this is what I want, or this is what I want, or whatever it is. But instead of us trying to wrangle it, we just give it to him, and then he lays things on our paths, because as long as we trust in him and follow the path that he's laid out for us, he will deposit those things at the correct time on the path. So while it may not be, your next step that leads you to the desire of your heart, if that desire is in alignment with the will of God, it will eventually be in your path. It'll just be at the perfect time that it needs to be. And that's what happened for me with Aglow. And while at my time at university, I really met God there. I grew up in church, but I didn't really understand what it meant to have a relationship with the Lord. I did hear from the Lord as a high schooler, but unfortunately that just scared me. And it wasn't until my time at the university that I really met God, like face to face. And he and I got close. That time, he really showed me who he is and literally squashed the doubts that I had about him. And I became passionate in those years about who he is and who he says he is. It was a time of challenge and direction, but, let's face it, like most college years, they lead to a direction that's still a bit unknown. So while I met God at NU, which is my university, and knew about him growing up, it wasn't until Aglow that I experienced the full presence of God, to not just be able to describe God and share about him, but to step through a portal really of what was and into a space of what is and what will be, and to really see the grace that God has poured out into our lives. The grace of God is something that I hope that I never take for granted, because it's literally why I'm here and why many of you are probably where you are, because his grace is really, incomparable to anything else that we have on earth. And, grace it's always too much. That's why it's grace, because it's never deserved. It's always freely given by God, and it's oftentimes entirely unexpected. And the Lord right now in Aglow is doing big things things that are unexplainable, unimaginable, undeserved maybe, and full of grace. And he's got a glow, and he's more than just holding us. He has plans for us, and we trust him with our future, just like we do with our personal lives. We entrust God with our future in Aglow. And that's why being in Generations is such a gift, no matter what age you are or what generation you are. I think that's why God is really forming and sculpting Aglow Generations to be more referring to the generations plural, the many generations, rather than a generation. And one thing that one of my coworkers and I were talking about today was that one of the beautiful things about Jesus's ministry on earth was how he really saw people where they were and the things that they were going through. And while in the church, oftentimes we refer to them as felt needs, it wasn't like, I need to deal with this so that I can get you where you need to be, which in some sense is true. But Jesus was so focused on being there for people in the moment that they were in and resolving whatever was going on in their life, and, bringing grace, bringing healing, erasing shame, all sorts of things. And he still does that for us today. And that was one of the greatest gifts for me in Aglow, is that I stepped into Aglow still with a lot of brokenness from my past. And through Aglow and through this ministry, he's brought men and women around me and other people in Aglow. You probably can relate to this in your own personal testimony, that speak into our lives and lead us up to follow Jesus and to grow in that relationship with him, so that every day that passes, we're one step closer to Jesus and one step further on that path. And the story that it just always comes to mind when I think of Aglow, and especially the women and men in Aglow. The people are what make Aglow. The documents and the paperwork and the leaders' digests and all of that stuff that we have, that's just stuff that is required to make things work administratively. But it's the people, it's all of you, it's me, it's everybody that considers themselves a part of Aglow that makes Aglow. And it's God's hand on Aglow that keeps our world spinning in the right direction and smoothly. But it is those women and men that really make an impact and make a difference in people's lives. And so in the book of Ruth, I love the relationship that Ruth has with her mother-in-law. And while Ruth is completely capable of going forward and, taking charge and leading and, doing what she needs to get by and, getting away from the stuff that she came from and moving into a future, she knows that, there's a foundation already built there with her mother-in-law, and she doesn't want to depart from her. She wants to walk alongside her, and she wants her mother-in-law to also, together walk alongside each other. There's a part in the book of Ruth in chapter 1 where, Naomi, her mother-in-law, is telling her, you should go on. You should, move forward with your life. Basically, I'm done. There's nothing left for me here. I've fallen through the cracks, really. And Ruth replies to her and says, don't ask me to leave you and turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. So the two of them continued on their journey. And I know that there's a lot of different pictures that can be taken from this portion of scripture. Of course, the relationship that Ruth and Naomi have. It also reminds me of our heart's desire for, God's people of Israel. Wherever you go, I will go. I will be with you no matter what. Like, that's also beautiful. And just the expression of the covenant that God has with his people, that we are together eternally, and we will go on our journey of life together. But it also paints a picture of Aglow. I think especially some of the younger people of Aglow, maybe you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever it is, 50s, and the people that maybe in other terms could be considered veterans of Aglow, I would say. And I really believe that the heart of the Ruths, if you will, of the younger women and men coming in, or they are already in Aglow, is the same as Ruth with Naomi. Like, hold on, you're not going anywhere. You are everything to me. I will follow you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stop, I will stop. We have a relationship, and I trust you, and I'm going to follow you, and we are going to journey together. I'm not coming in and, you pass the baton to me and I take it and then your race is done. It's more like you pass the baton to me, but now we're going to run together, and I'm going to follow in your footsteps, and I may, be fast or whatever, but I'm not leaving you behind. And that's really the heart of what God is really saying to Aglow Generations right now, is nobody's falling through the cracks of Aglow. It doesn't matter how long you've been here. If you're considered a veteran of Aglow, maybe you feel like you've been here since the beginning. Maybe you're new. Maybe you've been here for 20 years. Maybe you grew up in Aglow, and so you have experience at different ages and maturity levels in Aglow. But no matter what, God is asking us to bridge the gap between those generations so that nobody falls through the cracks, so that everybody in Aglow Generations, plural, can, like Ruth and Naomi, and so they continued on their journey together. And I really believe that that's the message that God is really sending to us and really asking us to step into. And so if you are in a position in your life that maybe you are younger and you feel like, maybe you feel like you don't have a voice, or that you're afraid to have a voice because there's people who have done this for a long time and they seem to know what they're doing. Or maybe you've been in Aglow for a long time and you deep down are afraid that if you allow somebody to come in and you delegate to them, or you welcome them into a leadership position, or whatever it might be, it could be something totally different, but that then your time is done, and nobody wants that. But that's not it at all. God isn't asking anybody to replace anybody in Aglow. God is asking us to come together, to really join hands and do this together. And it's by bridging the gaps between us that we can truly have a straight path. God talks a lot about our path. Sometimes there's like ravines that cross in the middle of it, but he's always so faithful to put the things in front of us that we need. And a lot of times that's a bridge. And so let's go forth and use those bridges and follow on our path and journey together as God has called us to. So I hope you have a great week and be blessed.